I'm Ruth Quinlan, and I was born, 36, so I probably started when I was almost 5, so then I went for the 8 years to, so whatever years that is. I'm not good at math anymore.
I'm Charles Quinlan, and I was born in 34, and I went to the Bell Schoolhouse, the one-room schoolhouse. Didn't have kindergarten then. You went to the first grade. And so however age that would be, probably about 40, I would have started in the Bell Schoolhouse. And that's it. There wasn't too much there to reminisce about, because it was very simple in those days, not like now. The kids have got things that we couldn't even think of in them days, but they have it as a daily routine. So I'm envious of my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, because they can do things I can't even think of doing. I went to Bell School till we transferred up to Galway High.
I went to the Finley Road School, and that was District number 8.
I'm not sure if I don't remember the number. Went to Galway School from there, and I was the last class to graduate from Galway High School. At that time, they had the new school.
The Central School then.
Central School then. But we were the old high school. Class of 52 was the last class to graduate from the old high school.
As the Galway High School.
Galway High School.
Galway Central School
then they went to the Galway Central with new buildings. It was quite a change from the one-room school, even though it was kind of old and unique, but it was okay. Bell School is off of East Galway, the road to East Galway.
Jockey Street.
Jockey Street. I don't remember the route number, but it was heading towards East Galway from the Galway Road, and then it would be the first possible road to the right, down in there, and that read directly to now is where the ball is, because they took everything.
West Milton Project.
West Milton bought everything in the school, but they came just to the edge of the school land, and that's where they left. So that's Bell School has been sold. It's a resident now. It was a mud hole in the spring. We did a lot of walking through the mud to get there, because the cars couldn't get up in there even. We had buses. We had autos. People would bring us, pick us up in cars.
Oh, you never had to walk to school?
No, only if I felt like it.
Wow, you were living the life, man.
Well, certainly.
I had to walk.
We were in the high rent district.
Yeah.
No, we used to walk, but a lot of in the spring we walked every day from Jockey Street because you couldn't get in there. Just the roads were impassable. They'd try once in a while, and then they'd get somebody to tow them out.
Yes, I had to walk it was approximately a mile. I don't know exactly, but, we always said it was a mile. Down Birchton Road to where Finley crosses it, and then, down Finley to where the school was. And that was, about a mile. So back in those days, the road, like now they've straightened it out some, but it used to have a big curve in it. And when I was first in school, my brothers used to walk so that the wind couldn't hit me because I was skinny then, and it would blow me in the ditch if the wind was blowing hard, when we were going that crossways.
every once in a while, our our guy that was head of our education department, he used to, one time he'd come in and bought us a rubber ball. And we thought that was the greatest thing that ever happened. Now they got balls, they don't know where they drop them, they don't care. They got every kind of thing to play with that you can imagine. And we were tickled to death to get a rubber ball we could boot around. So, and that was just one item. Yeah, Clayton Brown he was the head. My stepfather was a trustee for the Bell School. So I used to get a heads up on who's going to be my teacher. Because they'd hire the teachers. We were usually burnt wood in the Bell School. And the woman who was our caretaker, she lived across the road, up a long driveway. But she lived up in there. And they'd send us up. We didn't have a good well. We would carry water from her house to the school. So nowadays, they look at you like you were nuts if they see you walking up there with a pail.
We did the same thing, though.
Yeah.
The older kids would go up to the neighbor there
and get
this pail full of water and bring it down, and then they'd dump it in this dispenser thing, where you had to press the button and the water came out. Yeah, we had just individual desks.
Individual desks.
Yeah, we had
inkwells.
We were
back
kind
then.
of like put in sections depending on what grade we were in, so to speak. I didn't have anybody in my grade, so I was a loner. My one brother and a neighbor girl were in the same grade. And so, I would sat there and listen, because you heard everything going on in each class. So the one year I was a loner, so I don't know if they gave me a test or what, but they put me up with my brother and the neighbor girl. So I literally skipped one grade because I guess they didn't want that one extra class going on. Because, you just have the one teacher. And, she lived, even back then, she lived way over in Quaker Springs. Oh. And she came from Quaker Springs. And that's a long way to come to, to where Finley Road is. But she was a nice lady. I liked her.
They were all nice. Some of them were a little bit strict. Because we had...
Well, they had to be when you have a group of all ages like that.
I had several different teachers in the short time I was there. I don't know if I chased them out or what, but...
Oh, I might have too, but Mrs. Holmes was the one I remembered. She was the one that was there when I was a little older. I mean, I might have had somebody different when I was first in school.
I think I had at least 4 different... Wow. Ada Pierce taught there, but it was before my time, I think. But she taught over there, and she lived in Ballston. Then I had Inez Hunter. She was from Galway. She taught. Estelle Barrett was from Jockey Street, just a quarter mile from the end of the road. She taught. What was that? Trying to see memory loss. Old age does this to you. We had just a lot. We did have a stride pole that was out there that we could go up and go up and down. I don't know if they'd even allow them nowadays, but that we had that.
Can you tell us what that is?
It's just a tall pole with chains that hang down with handles on, and you could go around, run around like on a swing, basically. Only you could get pretty high on that baby. Yeah, higher than if teacher saw you, she'd make you stop. There was not much of a playground because you made your playground. That was it. And like I say, one rubber ball was a great addition to our playground because if you wanted to play baseball, you brought your own. You brought your own bat. Whatever you wanted to play, you better have it at home or you ain't going to get it. 'Cause the school didn't furnish anything like that in them days. What little things we did have, we were glad to have them, that's for sure. But I'd never played basketball until I went to Galway High. you know, and then, of course, then I fell in love with all the sports, so I played them all.
I don't know how much space they had yard-wise around the school, but where we were, it didn't seem like really there was a lot of area. I mean, we did have the big swings and like a teeter-totter, I think, and, you know, but I can remember playing with a small rubber ball, you know, throwing it over the school roof to the kids on the other side, and playing with things like that. But as far as anything to play with, there wasn't really much of anything.
No,
We played with each other, just running around and doing this and that. But, well, you know, one of the things I really sticks in my head was like one time it had snowed so much that winter, kind of like the one that just went by. And, you know, we were walking home. We were walking on the one drifts would get huge. I mean, huge, way up over my head. And we were walking way up on this drift. And I remember Mrs. Holmes going by with her car, and we were looking down at her car going by because she was on her way home, and we were walking, you know, but we were walking on this great big, huge snowdrift. It was amazing. I mean, I don't even remember how old I was, but that stuck in my head, how we looked down on her driving by. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, you used to get snow we don't get now. Thank God.
We did this year get a lot.
Well, yeah, but nothing like when we lived at the end of our road, and when it would be when the snow would be above the phone lines, and the road up into the project and they were all farmers. The road up in there they would come out through the fields and drag the milk out to get on the other side of the drifts. But then the only way we could get the road open again, the county used to come through with a snow go, and you had a bunch of men shoving it down into there so they could blow it out so you could get through. But right to the top of the phone lines, and that's what I remember that one, because what a job they had getting the milk from the farmers. Bring it on horses through the fields. Snow wasn't deep in the fields. The wind would hit the hedgerow. It would dump the snow there, but beyond that, it would be not much snow. But it's hard to believe it that they drifted that. Oh, yeah, that's not happy memories.
One thing I remember too is we all wore like heavy like stockings. You know, we didn't have snow pants. We had like heavy stockings, like heavy socks really that went up over your knees somehow. I don't even remember how we held them up there, but that's what we had, you know, for walking to school. That's how we dressed. My mother made sure they always were mended and everything like that. So, because there was 14 of us. I mean, that woman was busy keeping things mended for all of us.
For sure.
She was lucky. She had 7 brothers and 6 sisters.
Yeah, 7 and 7 we were.
That didn't work out that way with us. We had 7 girls and 2 boys.
Ooh.
I always went to school with my siblings.
Yeah.
Because some were older than me and some were younger. So.
Well, let's pause there real quick. So, how many kids were in each school? About a range, like 10 to 15, 15 to 30?
No, there wasn't too many.
So probably somewhere in the teens.
And half of them were your family.
And a lot of them were, in my case, a lot of them were my family.
Not me. I had 2 brothers and a sister, but they were younger than me.
She would ring the bell that would tell us it was time to sit down.
Time to start.
Yeah, time to get down to business.
I remember I was learning a lot more there than I ever did in high school because, you know, you were listening to every grade. So by the time it got to your turn to be that grade, you already knew all that stuff. You were taking everything from the older kids because you were listening to their classes. So you'd pick it up because they were the teachers I had were pretty good teachers. They didn't have a good subject maybe, but it was me because don't think I was probably the best
They-
student she ever had.
They were good teachers. They must
They
have
were.
been, because when I did go to the high school in ninth grade, I mean, I always was the top of my class, really, because of that. Because, like, I can remember specifically, they insisted, the teacher I had, which was Mrs. Holmes, insisted that when you answered a question, you answered it with a whole question. You just didn't say a couple of words. You had a whole sentence. And that was impressive, I remember, to some of my teachers in high school when I first went. Like Mr. Sutton,
Ernie.
he was always impressed that I did that. And I mean, I just thought that was the way you're supposed to do it.
He was a good teacher.
I know he was. I liked him. They were strict, but
They were strict, but they were good teachers.
like
though.
my parents were pretty strict too. So I mean, we knew how to behave, and so we did not push the envelope. I mean, we just didn't. I mean, my father, I would have not wanted his wrath. So I mean, I would never have misbehaved, at school. Never.
We got along. Usually, you got along with your classmates. Of course,
Yeah,
you
I don't
didn't have too many of them when you're in a one-room school.
No, that's
you got
true.
8 grades spread out in there. So you're not that many kids there. Then, like when you get into the high school, then you got a room full. But there we had a room full, but it was all the grades. It wasn't just one grade.
We always had to carry our lunch, except once in a while in the winter. I remember one time specifically when the teacher brought what she called chili con carne and, put it on like a hot plate and kept it warm and everything. And we had a warm lunch. That time it must have been real cold or something. I don't know. She must have felt sorry for us. Generally, though, we carried our lunch, which would be like a sandwich and a piece of fruit and an apple or something.
How long was your recess or your lunch period?
Not long. Well, maybe 30 minutes for lunch.
Yeah, I think
Recess, you're probably 15
I
minutes.
think they were about 15 minutes,
15
the
minutes.
recesses, yeah.
And do you guys remember the school day? Like how long it was? When did it start?
Well, when you're little, it seems long. It does. It seems long. But
I don't remember exactly. I think we had to be to school by 9 o'clock, but I can't really remember what time we got out.
I don't remember. I know we used to have to hurry with the chores to get ready to go. 'Cause
What kinds of chores did you guys have to do in the school, if you had to do any?
nothing.
I don't think we were required to do anything.
You might get the job of dusting the erasers,
yeah.
cleaning the board, or something like that. But everything.
Sharpening a few pencils, maybe.
Yeah, right. The Weavers lived next door to us, Harold and Dave, and they had 2 girls, but they were older than me, so they never were in that school. But the Weaver boys, we were friends with them. Harold died fairly young, and David died, how many years ago? Dave died.
Quite a few, yeah.
And that basically, that was our closest neighbor. Had an older guy that I went to school with, Johnny Divinich. And we were pretty close for our age difference. A lot of memories, but as you get older, they disappear. They start to, you think about them, but I had a girl that lived just about less than a half mile from the Bell School on that road, Yannick, Lillian, and her and I were in the same grade. And we had the same birthdays, both the same birthdays. That was unusual.
Yeah?
In a little school, and we happened to have the same birthday. She's still alive. She's in Schenectady. But a lot of the ones we had in high school, they're gone. Most of them, it's hard to say, but they're gone. So you realize how lucky you are when you hang in.
I had one girlfriend who was a actually a neighbor when we lived on Jockey Street corner there, and she lived down the road a few houses. And I mean, she had a big family too, and that was Nancy. So I mean, you know, we were neighbors for quite a few years. And even after we moved up here many years later, you know, she would still come in our store, you know, a lot, her and her husband and their family. I think we just brought our crayons and pencils and the pad of paper, you know, and like a tablet. And, you know, basic.
I can remember when they had
things.
they called it a big 5, almost brown paper, but it was a big tablet. And I don't know if it was a nickel, but they called it the big 5. And Mrs. Barrett, Estelle Barrett, took mine away and put it on her desk because she thought I was using too much paper.
Oh, you
But
you weren't being
I
conservative.
wasn't being conservative enough for her. So she had took my pad and put it on her desk, and I had to ask if I wanted a piece of paper out of my pad.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it must be. She thought I wasn't.
Being wasteful.
That's why that was wartime too.
Yeah, being
You know,
wasteful.
and everybody was conscientious. Nothing got thrown away. You know, you just used to wait to hear the news because you was petrified. Of course, we used to. He was also one of these guys that made, you know, when they sounded the alarm, you made sure your windows were nobody could look out the window, no light shine anywheres, and my stepfather was also a warden, if that's what you want to call him, but he would check on the neighbors to make sure they obeyed, and I can remember that. And so you were petrified, really, when you're little. It scares you, but then you'd wait to hear the news, how many airplanes got shot down, and how many you were praying that there was more of them than there was of you. I can remember that. Be on your mind all the time as a young kid. But I mean, because you were petrified, because the world was in an uproar.
Did either of you have family serving?
Oh, yes,
Yes.
I'm sure. My uncles, see, first one to go in was, I think Johnny enlisted, Georgie went, Danny went. This is just out of some of my uncles. Everybody went, actually. Most people that thought it was their job to go, you know, or if not, they'd draft you. But yeah, some people, I can remember. I know one guy that didn't go in. He stayed out. But it was because he working on a farm. But I mean, other than that, Jesus, everybody went. They didn't. None of them had bone spurs. So,
Yeah, through the years, I had, you know, 4 of my brothers were in the service, you know, through the years. My oldest brother and 3 others. One was in the Air Force, a couple were in the Army, one was in the Air Force.
I always thought I wanted to go in the Air Force, and I had a son, so if you had a family, they wouldn't take you. Yet they said, well, you can go in the Army. How come? Yeah, you can go stop a bullet, you know. But I mean, they would take you in the Army, but they wouldn't let you go in the Air Force if you had a family. Couldn't really go anyway. Too tied down.
So, do you guys remember any rationing or anything like that in the
Oh,
schoolhouse?
certainly.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, gas, sugar, even tobacco. But gas, sugar, everything.
I remember
Gas was the big one.
the oleo with the button in
Yeah.
it that you had
Yep.
to work through the color into the oleo.
Then you
I remember
mix it
that
up.
when I don't even know how old I was then, but we used to kind of like to do that. It was fun.
What kind of patriotic projects or anything like that do you remember doing?
I was a farm boy. You had projects every day, early in the morning until later at night. Yeah.
Seems as if one time, didn't they have something where you collected like milkweed.
Oh, yeah, milkweed. I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of in my head somewhere, but I remember doing that at least once or twice.
When in the war, I had 2 uncles that were in, and they both chewed tobacco. And of course, they couldn't get it. So at that time, you could buy a dozen packages for less than $2. I remember that. And my mother, I'd get them. One of them was Mechanic's Delight, and the other one was Yarra. I could still remember the tobacco they chewed. And they chewed, and Danny chewed right till he died. Georgie, I think, gave it up. But he chewed during the service. He chewed. My Danny got wounded, but he come home all right. He was all right. And Georgie lived to 90-something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had a lot big enough so we could play ball if you brought your own. And yeah, but I mean, other than that, you just sat in there and listened to what they were teaching the older kids. So when you got there, you knew it already. But,
And I mean, I did anyway, have a lot of fun, mingling with some of the other kids other than my,
family.
I had family all the time at home. So you always had playmates. But, it was fun sometimes to play with somebody else, some of the other families, the neighbors.
You made your own games up. You didn't have a schedule made for you.
Hopscotch
Playing ball,
and all those things.
The stride and the different things like that. Soccer. Once we got that ball, we could kick. Took a long time to get it, but we got it. But other than that, but your day was full.
I remember at Christmas time, we all had to learn some kind of little thing. And then the parents would come and we'd all have our little readings we'd do and like that.
Yeah.
That was...
Plays. Put on
little skits. Yeah, little skits of some type. And you had to try to learn your part.
In them days, there wasn't too many people that misbehaved.
I think it's because parents back then were...
They were
you
on
really respected your parents. You just did not step out of line. I mean, that's how I was, even with my mother, who was very mellow and nice. I mean, she never spoke up to anybody. I mean, but like I say, my father never did either. The only time I ever remember him reprimanding me at home even was once when my mother had taken a cake out of the oven and it had been out a while, and I went by and felt of it to see if it was cool yet, and he slapped my hand. And that was the worst that my father ever did to me, was to slap my hand that time. And that stuck in my head because it was the only time he ever disciplined me. And yet the respect we had for even the other kids. Mm-hmm. You never bullied anybody. I wouldn't have... I don't remember anybody bullying, any of the kids. Like they have a problem sometimes with that now.
I'd never had a basketball, even though I lived on a farm and could. Long after that, I played ball long after I got out of school, but never had one. But it was just different going to that other school. Yeah. And like I said, I enjoyed sports, so I played all 3 sports that they offered.
And what were those?
Basketball, baseball, and soccer. I played all 3. Had quite a few letters, but I think they've disappeared, some of them, to the kids through the years.
No, there's somewhere. I've seen
somewhere
them.
we got them. Probably.
Like I say,
if
I'd
you
have thought
used to
about
get a
that.
letter,
I would have dug
if
some
you
of that stuff out.
completed a season. I had quite a few letters, so that was, that was good because I liked it, and that's how I met her.
Up to 8th grade, I went to the one-room school, and then so 9th grade, I went to Galway, which still was not centralized at that point, was it? No, not right then, no. And
57.
honestly, just going to, I mean, it was like a whole different world because I was used to just living on a farm, and we didn't really. The only place we ever went really was to visit like our grandparents or maybe an aunt and uncle or something. You know, we didn't go to movies or things like that. So, I mean, that was a whole different world. I mean, Galway was just like, wow, you know, walking up the street, it was like up the street to the little market there on the corner
Dennis.
was like, wow, this is unbelievable. I mean, I was fascinated. It wasn't bad at all for me. I mean, I transitioned to that pretty good. I mean, it seemed good because we had some really good teachers. And the one that was my homeroom teacher was Mr. Sutton that we mentioned before. And he was a great man. He was the best. Well, he was on the basketball team, and I was a cheerleader. And we rode on the bus, you know, to go to the games that were away. And so that's where we met. I mean,
74 years ago, that's where we met.
I think
well,
that
we've been married 70.
the thing is, he did ride on my bus, but I didn't really
pay
know
no
him. I mean, I know he got on the bus, you know, and like that, but we'd never paid any attention to each other. But that was how we met.
We ended up getting married.
Yeah, at a young age, and we had a big family.
Yeah, well, we always kept busy because we had Chuck's. That was my first business venture other than the farm. When I first got married, I had a farm. And I had milk cows, and, you know, we had that. And all of a sudden, I decided that I was never going to get out of debt that way. So we switched, you know, and then I worked here and there. I went to Connecticut for a while, and then I got a job back here in GE, which I despised. Everybody, my family, all come out of there with nice pensions. I worked for a dummy who didn't get a pension because I was self-employed. But, you know, that was, you know, different. But the first real business adventure we had was when we had family then. And it was when I bought the store in Galway, Chuck's store. We weren't sure it was going to work, but we tried.
Yeah, I
then
was 79 years old when we got out of there.
Yeah.
And he was 81.
I had this, C&R, Chuck and Ruth. That's the restaurant. And then I had the Pine Grove Inn on Galway Lake, I had all three of them run at one time.
Yeah,
So
he
that
made sure we
tells
had
you-
no.
shows you the
He made
basic-
sure we had no
No downtime.
downtime.
It was.
How many kids? In
And 9 children besides.
Definitely no downtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But out of 9 of them, we never had one we wanted to send back.
No.
So I thought that
No,
was a good
we-
record.
We do really have some really good kids. We
Got
do.
really good kids.
Amazed that a teacher could take over, you know, a room full of kids of all different ages and maintain not just the discipline and everything, but go about teaching them and doing a good job. I mean, we came out of there pretty smart, I thought.
Well, you used to pay attention. You didn't have anything to detract you, such as the boob tubes and everything else. You know, you didn't have that. Like now, they don't have to. You know, we get to go to a movie. We thought that was a wonderful thing.
So I give a lot of credit to those men and women that were teachers in those schools because how they did it, I do not know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
When they got to school, it was cold in the winter, hot in the summer, because we didn't have air conditioning.
No.
We certainly didn't have no great heat systems.
no, and they did it under adverse conditions a lot of times.
A lot of
I mean,
times in the winter, you'd stand by
didn't have
they
any
let you
amenities,
stand
that's for
around the
sure.
stove. You know, besides your job was when you're old enough, you filled it, but they let you stand there to keep warm sometimes, because the front of that school could be extremely cool. You know, it might be warm back where the stove is, but we didn't even have any fans to blow it around. But we lived through it, so that's okay.
I don't know. I have a lot of respect for
Oh yeah,
teachers that took on that because that's a lot.
yeah.
They had a lot of
We
responsibilities.
had some good teachers in Galway. Ernie, when she taught Ernie Sutton, he was a great teacher. He was great. You learned when he was teaching, and he was a great guy. Well, I had a lot of great teachers. My athletic director, Don Mealy, he was a good guy. Real good.
So if you guys could go back for one day, back to that one room schoolhouse, what would you want to experience again?
Getting out.
I don't know. I don't know. I kind of liked the recesses when you got to
Yeah.
mingle with the other kids more, and play and chat and get acquainted with them,